these is very near and dear to your heart. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, for our We Have to Talk About segment this week, we have to talk about the official retirements of Joseph Benevitez, and then one of my top two favorite fighters of all time, Carlos Condit. Just kind of, that bums me out because the Benevitez one I was expecting. The Condit one was kind of a surprise, but at the same time, when I kind of look back at it, not 100% a surprise, but yeah, I mean, two longtime fan favorite fighters. As Michael Bisping said on the UFC show on Saturday, Carlos Condit was your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. Is one of the all-time most exciting fighters. If you've never seen the Carlos Condit fight against Robbie Lawler from UFC 195, go watch it. It's one of the all-time great fights in UFC history, especially that fifth round. And I actually thought Condit won that fight, but we'll leave it at that. And go look at the pictures of George St. Pierre after they fought at UFC 154. Nobody ever made George St. Pierre look like that after a fight. So I mean, and if you miss Condit in the WEC days, I mean, there's a reason he was called the natural born killer, and him and George St. Pierre are my two favorite all time fighters. So it's kind of a sad thing for me personally. And Benevitez, one of the nicest guys in the sport. He's going to be involved with the UFC for a long time to come, especially on social media. Definitely in the discussion for best fighter to never win a UFC title. So, but yeah, I mean, two really good fighters, two really good dudes. Benevitez, like we said, was kind of expecting. Condit did an interview with Ariel Helwani, and he said that he actually told Dana White like a month ago that he was done, but it just kind of now got out, yeah. But yeah, kind of bittersweet week for me seeing another one of my favorites, leave the sport. But it happens,
Yeah, I was surprised by Condit. Honestly, I thought he had at least a couple more fights in him. The one I wasn't surprised with was Benevitez, because the last time he fought, I think I said it immediately. Like, that's the last time we're going to see Benevitez fight. It seemed like he was done when that fight was over. Now, sometimes guys change their minds, and they decide to keep going. But in this case, I mean, they could always come back. But you know what? Out of the two of them, I would not be surprised at some point to see Condit back. Obviously you'd be real happy if it happened, but I would be very surprised if we ever see Benevitez again, because he's got he's coaching and probably announcing and a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Like you said, both of us were not surprised at the Benevitez, and he did take himself out of the USADA testing pool. So that's a definite. I'm done. I don't know if Condit did or didn't. Like I said, the one thing that surprised me about Condit retiring was, he got the wins within the last year over Court McGee and Matt Brown, and he seemed rejuvenated after winning two straight. And before the Max Griffin fight, he signed a new contract, like he was prepared to, fight for a few more years. And then he talked about, the Max Griffin fight, and just in the camp, stuff just didn't feel right. And, and he got beat by somebody better and younger. And he just kind of said, just didn't feel right, and maybe it was time to go. He doesn't want to really go through camps like that again. So yeah, I can see I can see why. I mean, I just hate it because, damn it, I love Carlos fighter. I love Carlos Condit. I'm supposed to be unbiased, but if you look at my closet, I have some fighter shirts. I have several GSP shirts and several Carlos Condit shirts. So that just tells you my personal fandom of them. And long before
I got no shirts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is all from long before I was ever privileged enough to be consistently credentialed. So,
now, has Condit ever done any announcing? Because he looks like a guy that would be great on camera.
Possibly. I don't know though. I can't say for sure.
I'd like to see him try that, because I mean, he's a good looking dude, and and he's been around a long time, and he probably would really have some interesting things to add to a lot of these broadcasts.
Yeah.
So
I agree there.
and Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what's and for those that don't know, Benevitez, he's got reason to go home and with all his faculties intact because he's married to Megan O'Leary. So he's winning at life. We'll just say that.
And he talked about that too. He goes, just like, I don't have to be the breadwinner anymore. I have a wife who makes a decent living. So he talked about them being in it together and how, so a lot of times, and it's a big thing. A lot of times fighters go on longer than they should because of money, and he's, he said, I've made good money. My wife makes great money and is going to continue to make great money for years. I'm still going to be able to, because he's going to be a UFC ambassador, and and Condit has some own like personal businesses in Albuquerque that he's talked about openly. So I don't think and both those guys have been main eventers, have had big contracts, and have been in title fights. But it's not and both those guys have seemed like smart dudes who don't blow through their money like, your Donald Cerrone's or your other people, these other people that we see constantly fighting these days, like Kevin Holland and all that. These guys seem like smart dudes who did well and saved well and are, prepared to walk away on their own terms instead of later than they should have.
I will predict that between these two guys, we are going to have at least 2 Hall of Fame appearances by them. I think Condit could get in twice.
I was just about.
I think he could get in as a classic fight. Yeah, he could get in for a fight. Obviously, that Lawler fight, and he also could just get in as a fighter. And then Benevitez, I'm not sure if he's quite a Hall of Famer, but they've put in worse guys, I think.
Yeah, so. It's a matter of who they want to induct, and if they want to induct a bunch of people. I mean, if they're only doing one induction a year, it's kind of hard. But if they want to do multiple inductions, and both those guys, I mean, I would.
I think Condit Lawler's a lock to be a Hall of Fame fight down the road.
I think it's very possible. I think if you were to make a top 10 list of all time great UFC fights, that would probably be on the list. So so that's probably a good safe possibility. If it's one of those things like if both guys were to be announced to be in the Hall of Fame, you'd look at it and be like, yeah. They're great, great, there's no.
And Condit's won titles in UFC and WEC, so I think he's legit. So that's bittersweet, but again, hopefully we haven't seen the last of them. Just probably the last time in the cage. And you real quick wanted to touch